Askreddit asks, what is the scariest film that doesn't resort to cheap jump scares?
Misery, no need for jump scares. The terror comes from Annie's swift changes in mood. And suddenly you find yourself fearing for Paul's life.
The book is like that as well. Even when she's being sweet, you're on edge because you know she'll change in a snap. Such a haunting book. Need to see the movie.
Well, there's at least one hell of a jump scare in that movie. He wakes up in the dark room, looks around, and suddenly she's there standing over him with a syringe. I remember it clearly because I actually pulled a muscle.
Silence of the Lambs. Most of the violence isn't even on the screen. But because we don't see it, we started putting it together in our heads. Hopkins and Foster sucked me into that movie and had me looking over my shoulder for days.
The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, those long, still shots where the horror just comes into frame and you are helpless and can only sit and watch as it unfolds.
Talk about a movie that's hard to watch again, just because of the sense of impending dread. You just feel greasy watching that movie.
I've always loved how that movie just gets right to it and people start dropping like flies. So much tension and nipples.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
Hands down the best acting by a dog. Ever.
Well, there is the part where the defibrillators go straight through that guy's chest. Or the scene where they're testing the blood. I guess what's cool about the movie is they basically tell you a jump scare's about to happen but it still always gets you. And they don't ever really feel cheap. So, after writing all that, I guess I totally agree with you.
Jacob's Ladder. Without a doubt, the most thrilling horror movie I've seen. There are a few jump scares. But in the context of Jacob's Ladder they don't seem cheap and they are legitimately unsettling.
The fucking shaking head in the rear car window. Fuck that.
The surgery in hell really troubled me. 1 hour photo, Robin Williams is a nightmare.
Worked as a CVS photo technician when this came out. It was extra creepy for me because I realized how easy it would be for someone to be like that. I had been working there less than a year and already had so many people that I knew much of their family history and insight into their family vacations.
Nightcrawler had me on the edge of my seat.
We never play Nightcrawlers anymore, Frank.
We need to talk about Kevin. Don't look up anything about it. Just watch it. More horrifying than scary, though. TBH. Edit fucked up. The title edit 2 should be on Netflix, US. Anyways, for those who want to watch it.
And now that guy is the Flash. What were they thinking, giving Kevin powers like that?
The Day After 1983. From IMDb. A graphic, disturbing film about the effects of a devastating nuclear holocaust on small-town residents of eastern Kansas. Filmed almost like a documentary on the effects of nuclear war. Edit. People have been asking where to find it. Try YouTube. URL redacted.
If you like The Day After, you will love URL redacted channels 1,055,902. Which is the British equivalent. Well.
Although the second half of the movie resorts to some cheap scares, the first half of The Descent is terrifying.
Okay, I literally just said the big jump scare in The Thing was the best of all time. But I take it back. The one in The Descent is the best of all time. It was literally the climax of the movie.
Yeah, that film still has me knocking the fuck out of any caving expeditions a good 10 years on.
Coraline. That movie is scary.
Making up a song about Coraline. First half of this movie I was like, pass HH, this shit is for kids. Was my friend Hi recommending this as a scary movie? Second half of the movie had me on the edge of my seat and gave me the kind of goosebumps that last for hours after it was over.
It Follows was pretty good at creating a creepy atmosphere.
That doorway part though. Fuck.
Hell of a film score as well.
Deleted.
Kidman was so good in this. Tense and high-strung. Loved it.
The part where the kids are in the closet toward the end literally made me hyperventilate in the theater.
Are you mad? I am your daughter.
The Vivitch. There's one jump scare in the film, which doesn't involve any horror at all. It's a fantastic period piece and creepy as fuck.
Say 7 and David Fincher. Saw it when I was 12 or something. Barely slept for a week.
Sesevenen.
To be fair, I can think of at least one jump scare in that movie. Specifically, when the cop is hovering over the junkie's face and he wakes up. Spoiler.
Sesevenen 2. The Sesevenening.
The Orphanage, URL redacted, title TTO464141, edit. I always say I'm not a big foreign language movie fan. But this and Kung Fu Hustle are two of my all-time favorite movies.
This one scared me through the first 3 quarters and then had me sobbing at the end. Terrifyingly heartbreaking.
One of my favorite movies ever. Scary, engaging, painfully emotional, and just well crafted. I don't cry much, but both times I've seen this have just devastated me.
Frailty. Watched it with not one clue what it was about. Fucked me sideways.
Story part of that movie was filmed on a friend's property. As kids we would watch that movie at like 2 a.m. in this shack on the property and then wander around in the dark where they filmed it. I still have nightmares.
10 Cloverfield Lane. While this isn't the scariest film, others already made my picks for that. I was extremely uncomfortable and nervous throughout the majority of it. To the point where I'm not even sure if I enjoyed it, which is a credit to the film. And particularly John Goodman, edit. By the way, if you haven't seen it, I recommend you don't read any of the replies to this comment.
The dinner scene was the most uncomfortable scene probably in the entire movie and just showed how good of acting the cast did. Especially John Goodman.
Eraserhead gave me nightmares for a couple of days.
Eraserhead just confused the fuck out of me. I would go so far to say that I am still confused 3 years later.
Finally, a David Lynch film. If Lynch doesn't have you lying awake or looking in dark corners. Or emotionally tone deaf.
The Strangers. The fear of being hunted is just fucking awful.
Why are you doing this to us? Because you were home. Shudders.
That's the part that really fucked with me. There are actual psychopaths out there. This could happen to anyone. The Machinist. It's not even a horror movie.
Remove.
And cigarettes. What is also crazy is he went from Machinist size to Batman size in 3 months.
The Fourth Kind pretty much did it for me. But I'm a sucker for realistic alien movies.
The Last House on the Left. The 70s one is great, but the remake is pretty solid too. The idea of knowing your temporary house guests harmed someone close to you is an interesting idea. Made me think about what I might do in that situation. Oldboy is a good example of this too. The more you think about it, the scarier it becomes.
God damn. The rape scene in that movie will never leave me. Prisoners. It had me terrified and on the edge of my seat the entire movie. It was every parent's nightmare. I am not even a parent and I was worried for my children.
The set and palette color were very unsettling. All that gray and green and emptiness made me feel uneasy.
I watched this once. I won't watch it again. It was so well done, but that heavy feeling stayed with me for days.
Audition by Takashi Miike, edit. Takashi not Takeshi.
But that film has one of the most amazing jump scares in cinema. You know, with the bag.
The directing was so good. Horror directors should take note. It's so much scarier when you spend time fleshing out the characters so the audience actually give a fuck what happens to them.
The original Blair Witch Project. The fact that it was the first found footage, and you never saw the witch or anything because it was always off camera was freaky. Plus I remember when everyone left the theater the fact that everyone thought that was real footage and not a movie.
When you casually find all of your missing friends' teeth in a baggie. Yeah, love that film.
I'm sad TBWP is so low down the list. Easily the scariest movie I have seen.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to support the channel, and above all, have an excellent day you wonderful people.